and in particular, the foundation program that is running here for the first year. The context here is that the students have engaged with an incredibly rigorous, intense process of learning and connection with architecture and design. And the thinking behind these talks is to understand that there's a much bigger world out there to engage with. And in particular, the understanding of what it takes to be good or great at something. So they've all made this commitment as students to a learning process. And we're very fortunate to have the chance to meet great people who will inspire us through their lives and their commitment to what it takes to learn and to be excellent at whatever they do. In particular today, we're welcoming Ustad Fazal Qureshi, who has obviously a tremendous career that you're all probably aware of, and he comes from a very distinguished family of musicians and performers. Now, that was an act of grace. He was born into that family. But what he's going to demonstrate is that, notwithstanding the incredible privilege of having become a member of that family, what it takes to make something of those opportunities. So in particular to students who are here, you all are, in another way, having an extraordinary opportunity to be learning. But that's not the end. That's only a beginning. So what will be demonstrated, hopefully, through an introduction to the Qureshi family life, and then through a performance by Ustad Fazal Qureshi and his co-performers, Xavier, Berth, Mark Hayden, and then Ustad Fazal's son, Azan Qureshi, a performance that we will enjoy together. But we're going to be very privileged to be able to be introduced to the family background and the process of learning and engagement that Ustad has had with his craft. Can I, without further ado, ask him to present himself and his co-performers? The way the evening will function is that there's a very precious slideshow that he's going to give us of an intimate look into his own family life, which will actually be much better seen when the light goes. So he's perhaps going to play a little first to get us into the mood, and then will bring us through the story of his family life and what it took to become what he is, and then the performance will begin in earnest. And before we begin, could I ask some of our students to present to Ustad a floral token. And now over to the Ustad.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you all. You see, since I am getting old, and so the photographs are also very old, so can't be seen until it is totally dark, and we get a little bit of more ambience to it. But I'm so grateful, to Samir Bhai, who's here, and to other people who are in charge of this whole function, to bring me here and to interact with the young faces and make me feel that I'm back in college and enjoying myself like I used to do and perform for all my friends when I was in college. And in fact, before I go into anything else, I'd like to say that my experience with fusion music started in my college, actually. So it was the college life which blossomed me into a performer. And I always thought that I would become either a cricketer or an athlete or something else like that. But the college, I used to go for all these competitions thanks to the college, into IIT Bombay and to a medical college here and to Malhar Festival in Bombay, in our college itself. and I used to win first prize, and I wasn't sure why that was happening. Too young to realize that I was good. And so it just, boosted my confidence to carry on. So I have this very great harmonium player who's from, based in Ahmedabad and who's been playing with all the big classical musicians, Hi. I think he's more interested. I don't want to hear any Bach music right now. Let's stick to Indian classical. Shishir Bhatt, please give him a big hand. So we will just do a little demonstration of the tabla, just give you a little idea what the tabla is all about, the classical part. And he's going to play what we call as a lehra, which is a melodic rhythm pattern that signifies or rather indicates the rhythm cycle that I am playing. So this time he's going to be doing what we call as the teen tal, or the 16 beats. And I'm going to do a short, about 10 minutes till it gets dark, and hopefully it'll get dark soon, and perform for 5-10 minutes for you before we go on to the slideshow. So, teen tal for you. So teen tal is actually means 16 beats, and it's a very longish 4/4. You can also call it. So we just need to keep track of it, and if you can, it'll be nice. 13, 14, 15, 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, back to 1. So this is it's going to go on and on. I think it's dark enough. This was just a little. We'll come again and play a little bit more. You know. Thanks, Shishir Bhai. Please give him a big hand. So, just because we have to show the slides, I have to get off the stage and take that little mic which is there, and so that I don't come in the way of the slides. So, we begin with the slides. So I'm a little nervous because I've never done something like this before, talk about myself with my photographs. So if I make any mistakes, which would be many, of course, I hope you understand. But while playing, it's okay. As you can see, the confidence is very much there. But as far as the performances is concerned of talking about it, let's see what happens. We'll start with a slide. There will be some videos, some slides again, and in between there will be some talk and all that. So I hope you enjoy. Is that clear enough? So that's, of course, I guess, that's me, by the way. Way back in 19-something. I'm not going to give you the year, but it's way back. And this is kind of my initiation into music. I'm actually sitting on the stage, and as you can see, there's a baya, which is the left hand, and that's my father sitting on my right. And this photograph was taken in this big, huge auditorium in Bombay called Shanmukanand Hall. And on my right is Pandit Ravi Shankar ji. And there's a performance of my father and me, my father and Ravi Shankar happening, and I'm sitting in the middle of both of them. And this is the time when the Ravi ji was playing his alap, and I'm listening to him very intently. And Ravi ji was very particular about who takes his photograph and when his photograph. He didn't allow any of these photographers to take his photo when he was performing, because he didn't want to get disturbed, by the light falling on his face and all that. So, and then suddenly he actually indicated to the photographer to take a photo. So even the photographer was very surprised. So when he saw me listening to him so intently, he asked the photographer to take a photo. And this photo was taken, and after a few days, this package comes to my house, and there's this photo of him. So this was like a gift from him to me, as an indication that I did a good job of listening to him. So this is like almost like an initiation of how I began listening to. I used to go to listen to my father and then to my brother, Zakir bhai, and they used to take me along with him. And I, most of the time, would be sitting on the stage, like I'm doing here, and listening to them. So this is like an initiation. The next one is a little video, which is from, the little video, which is from my father's film. It's a film division documentary which was made on my father. And so I just took a little clip from there where... So that was my first performance, in case you want to know. This was taken because they had this movie made on my father, but since they wanted somebody to play from the family and my elder brother was not there, Zakir bhai was already in America at that time, so they wanted somebody from the family to play, and they saw the two kids sitting around and they said, why don't you ask them to play? So, but we had never even touched the tabla, and they just thought that, it would be nice if somebody from the family plays. So we had one of my father's senior student who was there, and he said that, don't worry, I will, arrange something and teach you guys something, and you just play, and we will record it. So this is what happened. He taught us something, and we just played, and it was recorded, and it is there in the archives forever. And I'm very ashamed for it, because it's not really something that I would... But this is like a first sort of being connected to the tabla for me. And that also initiated by one of my father's students. This other clip is, again, from the same film division, where I'm having a conversation with my father, and also my sisters are there, and my mother is also there. And I am boasting, actually, in this. You will know what I mean by it. Can you put it on?
अमेरिका पढ़ रहे तो वो जाएगा ही उसमें जाकिर की तरह भी जाना है हाँ बिल्कुल कहाँ जाएगा अमेरिका जाऊंगा अरे खाली अमेरिका और भी कहाँ लंदन जाऊंगा पूरे वर्ल्ड में जाएगा ना ये क्या करेगा पढ़ूंगा जाऊंगा.
So I'm talking about, as if I'm already decided that I'm a performer, and I'm talking about going to London to play and to America to play, and my sister is saying that I would, travel like my elder brother is doing. Now I am probably just 10 years old, and I'm already thinking in the big times that's going to follow me. And this is how, you know, I kind of got into the field of the tabla, because it's always there. As you saw before the clip, before I started, there's somebody already performing there or practicing. That's one of my father's students who were practicing. Now this photo, as you can see in the middle is, you know who, that's Zakir Bhai right there in the middle with all the garlands. And this photograph is actually from his, by the way, where's the pointer? Is that the one? That's the one? Okay. Does it? I think you have to. Aha, okay. Aha, all right. This works this way, okay. The first one, okay. So, where is it? I don't think I'm doing a good. There, the second one actually.
The first one is the red one.
The first one is the red one? No. No? No. So anyway, you know who Zakir Hussain is, right? Right there in the middle with his garland. And I am right there between my father and my uncle, actually. So that's the one who's wearing another garland. That's me there. Bihar, there you are. Oh, so which one is it? The top one, okay. For some reason, when I do it, it doesn't work. There you are. I think it... Slowly. Okay. There. That's me. This is Zakir Bhai. That's my younger brother, Tawfiq. That's my mother. That's my father. That's my other sister, older than Zakir Bhai, and that's the oldest sister who's in London now. And this here lady is my mother's sister. And they used to, she's no more, but she was living in Pakistan. She was married to my father's brother here. He's my father's brother, and both of them were living in Pakistan. And this is one of the big celebrations that we always had as far as my brother's birthday celebration was concerned. So this is his birthday celebration. And my chacha, my father was the oldest, and he was, I think, the next in line, or maybe the third one. He had about 6 brothers and 1 sister, the only sister that was there. And they all lived in Pakistan, and we were the only people living here, actually. So this is the photo from our house and in the area called Mahim in Bombay, where we all sort of grew up, actually, and then later on moved to. So this is one of the family photograph. The next one. Oh yeah, this is good. As you can see, this is the Taj Mahal. The only family vacation I ever had with my father. So I'm sitting there on his lap, actually. That's Zakir Bhai right there, and my mother and my younger brother, my sister, they're both my sisters. So this is the actual family photo portrait. This was, I even remember going by the train, and in those days you could actually cook your food in the train. You were not allowed to, and there were no sort of restrictions, so there were all these, people were carrying the stove and all that, and I remember my mother carrying a stove and cooking for us in the train. And this is again, yeah, right. So again, the other photo at the far corner on the left is, the lady on the left is my father's sister, actually. She, the only sister, as I mentioned, and the one in the middle, the old lady, is my father's mother, my dadi. And next to her is my sister's husband, my bua's husband, and who happened to be my mother's brother also. So it's like two family marrying into each other's. So my mother's sister married my father's brother. So, and then my mother's brother married my father's sister. So, so it kind of little confusing for me because my what you call Chachi also was my, what does she become? she becomes my Masi. And my Bua, that is my father's sister, was also my Mami. So, so it was a little confusing, Luckily, they lived in Pakistan and not here. So that confusion was solved. Anyway, so it was like two family married into each other, So, and my Dadi, I actually never got to meet her because she lived all her life there and she never came to Bombay, where we were growing up. So I never met her. But I had one trip to Pakistan once, many years ago. That was in 1986, where my cousin was getting married. And I went to my mother's village, actually. So my mother is also from Punjab, which was way back in Pakistan area, which during the partition it went into Pakistan. And so I happened to meet most of my cousins. I mean, there are quite a few of them, and none of them are into music. So the idea, what I'm trying to say is that my father was the only one. Can we have my father's? My father was the only one. Ustad Allah Rakha. I'm sure he's about 16 years old in this, and he was studying not only tabla, but he was also studying vocal music. So he was employed by the All India Radio in Lahore, and then he came to Delhi, and then in 1939-40 he came to Bombay, where he sort of stayed and never went back to Punjab. So he was employed in All India Radio as a vocalist as well as a tabla player. So he liked to dress up. As you can see, he's wearing a coat and a jacket and a tie and all, performing classical music, which is amazing for Indian classical musicians. So he's that's one of his earliest photograph that we got hold of. Very recently, someone sent me from, if you can believe that, from Holland. One of my students found this photograph there, and then he sent it to us. So this is his, and he's the only man, he's the only person in the family who was into music, actually. And he was playing tabla by himself. So this story is very important for me because he was already performing in his village, and he was very fascinated by the tabla. And he was sort of had this premonition that he cannot be here. He needs to go to look for his guru, and he had somebody in his mind whom he took as a guru, a very big musician, tabla master called Mia Kadir Baksh. And he had about many students, thousands of most of the people living in Punjab, or rather in Lahore area, were all his students. So my father went from a village there and performed in front of him. And then he was very fascinated by this young boy playing tabla. And so he asked him, well, whom have you learned from? And he very innocently said that I've learned from you. But he said, I've never heard you, I've never seen you, I've never met you. Who are you? And he says that I've always taken you as my guru, and I played tabla, performed tabla, keeping your playing in my mind and your, yourself. So then afterwards he became his student, one of his students, and then in Lahore he spent about 5 years studying from him, and also studying vocal music, which is called the
the Patiala Gharana, which is part of the Punjab Gharana vocal style. So he learned vocal as well as tabla. And he kind of got transferred, got employed at the Lahore radio station when this very interesting, what you call, a station master, they call it, a station manager or the director, Bukhari Saab. He was senior Mr. Bukhari, who was stationed there, and he kind of had a liking for my father. So he took him to under his wing in Lahore and then brought him to Delhi radio station, and then from there brought him to Bombay. So that's how he came to Bombay in around 1940s and stayed there and became sort of an employee of the All India Radio. And then from there he left the radio, went into film music, made music for films for at least for 25 films. And then as they say, it's all history after that. So we, can we go back to the family before this? So this is a photograph, as you can see, the top one, and I'm sitting on my father's lap. This is a house in the locality of Bombay called Mahim, which is a very conservative Muslim area. And there's a dargah. Our house was behind the dargah in Mahim. And we used to have this every sort of yearly, what you call as the Mahim Dargah sort of Sandal, or what you call as the festival. And so my brother, Zakir Bhai, used to perform on the dhol, and he used to wear the dhol on his, around his neck and play that and take this sandal, we call it, like a little chadar that you put on the mazar of this great mosque. And he used to lead that sandal and take it all the way to the sort of the mazar, and then they used to offer the chadar there. So that's the family. This is all this, and this is of course in our other house in Simla House, and that's me, by the way, the young me, all grown up, and as you can see, there's me there in the other photograph. Trying to look very, having some sort of, I don't know what that is. Yeah, where is the red? Come down, come down. That's my father, and that's me there. As you can see, trying to look very nice. And that's my mother and my father and Zakir Bhai. So these are all the photographs from my Mahim brought up, where it was very conservative. Living in a very sort of conservative and Muslim environment. And then we came to Simla House, which is on Nepensi Road. We all grew up there, literally. I mean, we were so young there, and then this photograph is from there, where the whole environment changed, and our outlook and everything became part of the sort of a getting out of this. And even then, as you can see, even though we were living in this very conservative environment, my mother, as you can see, all my sisters also, they never wore a burqa, as you can see. They never wore, which was like being rebellion in the 60s, being in this conservative and not wearing a burqa, which is, and so you can see that the environment in my house was already very liberal, and my mother decided that since my father was performing so much and being out of the house most of the time, so she need to take care of the house and take care of all the children who are growing up. And so she decided that wearing a burqa would be a hindrance. And so she didn't allow my sisters also to wear, and neither did she wear. And she got a lot of, sort of backbites from the neighbors and everyone, but she didn't care. She didn't say, it doesn't matter to me. I'm more interested in making sure that and so she made sure that my sisters also got educated. They did, they went to this national college which was in Bandra, and both my sisters were teachers in school, and all because of my mother. And she used to also make sure that my brother went to school. Zakir bhai was a rebellion, he was not very interested in studying. So she used to drop him in school in the morning, and then she used to go back in the afternoon to find out whether he was there or not. And it was a St. Michael school in Mahim, and the father used to tell her that, I saw him in the morning, but I don't see him now at all. He used to just go for a performance, or go for a practice with somebody, or with some musician. And my mother was like tearing her hair out, because she wanted to make sure that all of us get educated, the best of education which was available at that time in that area. But my elder brother was not interested, but somehow he managed to pass his school and went to America way back in 1969. He went to America. I think this is one of those years when he was about to embark upon his new life. He went to America because even though he was playing very well, he had a little name in the 60s. I used to go to his concerts at that time, and I could see that he was very, very popular. But he decided that, it's an environment which is like a protected environment. He wanted to spread his wings. He wanted to go out and experience and see what the world is all about, and see if he can, learn something else. So he went to America and spent about 2 years there. Lived in, not very good conditions because he was not getting performances, but he wanted to just be there and experience and rough it out, as they say. And my father, once I remembered, this is what my brother told me, that he was kind of had no money to even shave. So he had all this beard growing and everything, and so my father was, he was traveling around and he was visiting America, and my brother went to meet him, and my father literally didn't recognize him because he was, he had this beard, and he was like, so my father said, "Kya hua bhai? Tum shave bhi nahi ki tumne?" Bole, "Paise hi nahi hai, to shave kaise kare?" So my father then, gave him money and so on and so forth. So he roughed it out and created, as you know, what he has become, and made a name for himself and created. So the environment of and this is a period where you can see me, is a period where I was not sure what I wanted to do. I was studying, I was into sports, I was playing cricket and football and God knows what, and not practiced tabla at that time. And there was a student who came from America, and he was living with us at that time, and he was just 16. And he was so dedicated. He was my father's student. And he came and he used to practice the whole day. And I was very fascinated to see this young 16-year-old American boy who's staying with us and literally playing so well and practicing very dedicatedly. And so I used to, come back from school and pick up the tabla and start playing with him and practice with him or something like that. And then sometime I used to just come back and he's playing something, and I used to sometime play that particular thing even faster than him, So he was very he was very irritated and fascinated at the same time. I said, how can he just come from school and just pick up the tabla and play the same thing that I've been practicing the whole day faster than me? So he was like, it just didn't sort of, and also it didn't matter to me also. I used to just pick up the tabla and start playing. So, and then when I was, playing in one of these sessions with him, my father happened to be in the house and he saw me practicing, and he said, well, he seemed to be interested, and that's the time when he started teaching me. And this was like around in 74 or something like that. He thought that I got interested in tabla, and so he started teaching me. Now I was already playing, I was already sort of doing all those stuff that these other students were doing. And so my father decided that he will teach me. So then I started really rigorously learning from him. And so imagine getting inspired by an American boy living in my house, and that he inspired me to just pick up the tabla and start playing. So this was one of those days, when I got interested in really seriously and practicing. Can we go to my... as you can see, that photo on the right, this on the left, far left, is a photo taken in 1986. Now, this is a very famous dancer. You may have recognized her. She's Sitara Devi ji. And this probably is the only time when both Zakir bhai and me are accompanying a dancer on the tabla. So you have Zakir bhai also playing and me also playing. This was taken in America in 1986. And we both are accompanying Sitara Devi ji performing. And the top right photograph, if you see the extreme right, there's a person standing there with glasses. Can anybody recognize him? Do you know who that is? Person wearing glasses? That's Hariharan ji, yes, that's great. That's Hariharan on the right. And if you see this from to the left, to the right of Hariharan, there's another person standing there. There's Ustad Shahid Parvez, another very famous sitar player. This was taken somewhere in 1980 or something. And if you go far left, you see that very smiling face man standing. That's Kalyan ji bhai, Kalyan ji Anand ji, one of the Kalyan ji bhai is there. And next to him on his left is my younger brother. And next to him, my younger brother is me. It's kind of, with my head tilted. So already hobnobbing with the famous people, right? I haven't even become famous, but I have famous people around me. Kalyan ji bhai is there, and Hariharan ji, Shahid bhai is there. And then down here is a photo of Sitara Devi ji, as you can recognize her. And behind her is her son, the very famous Ranjit Barrett, playing the drums. He's there, and with me with the mustache. Suddenly I decided to grow a mustache, and I realized later that I look better without it. But then that took me 2 years before I realized that. So that's me and Ranjit Barrett and Sitara Devi. So I used to actually practice. The one very good thing that happened with being a son of a very famous father was that I had access to all these big musicians. So I used to, while being in college, I used to go and practice with Shivji, and Sitara Devi ji was right there. And so there's this very close relationship with Sitara Devi ji. We call her Sitara Auntie. She was very close to my father. So when we used to live in Mahim, she was also living in Mahim at that time. And then when we shifted to Nepensi Road, she also shifted to Nepensi Road. Right on the main road, she used to have a house, and we were up on the hill. So I used to go to her house, and I literally, Ranjit and I will literally grew up together in the same locality, playing together later on a lot, performing drums and tabla, performing together a lot. Can we go to the other one? My college performance. There you are. See, I'm playing with Hariharan. Young tabla player, handsome-looking man. Fazal Qureshi. And this is in St. Xavier's. You can see that at the top corner is written Xavier's College. And this is one of their, what we call as, I think one of the Sangeet, there used to be an organization called Sangeet Mandal there, and this is one of the performances happening. And I'm playing with Hariharan, sang, and I played with him. I never played after that. But we did perform together a few times later on, but I probably realized that I'm not good enough after this. Next, before the college one, after this, no. Okay, let's go back to this one. Yeah, so this You can see in the right top corner performing with Shivji. My first performance with Shivji happened in 1983 while I was still in college. And then there's this one. Can you see this person there on the right? Can you? I think you probably have to shift it a little bit. I don't know. So this photo on the top right is with me and this young thin fellow, Shankar Mahadevan, right there, young fellow. But you can't see his face. With hair and thin, very thin Shankar Mahadevan. Very, very thin. And so when I meet him these days and I tell him that, you have attained greater heights as well as width whenever I meet him. So, these are all the people I used to perform with. And there you are. It says that Sangeet Mandal on the top right, St. Xavier's College, Fazal Qureshi sitting on a tabla with this lady. She's still around singing ghazals called Pinaz Mesani. I don't know whether you've heard about her. She was quite known at that time. Pinaz Mesani, and I was playing with her. They performing with Shivji. The other one with Hariji. So after that, So you see the young fellow there. I don't know, this again is not working. So that's Hariji, the young Hariji, Hariprasad Chaurasia. This is way back in 1986 or something. 86, 87, I was playing with him. That's me there, if you can recognize me. Down there is another photograph about 28 years ago with Niladri Kumar on my left. I'm in the middle, and this another sarod player who was a Raviji's student, who actually Partho. He has come and performed here at the Saptak. And on the top left, if you can recognize me with the mustache, I was just about to shave it. That's me on the left with my sister-in-law, my Zakir Bhai's wife, and my younger brother, Taufik, at one of the performances that I had. So I like to sort of reminiscence to my college days where I was, as you can see, I was performing so much. The college was like a place where I actually blossomed, as I said earlier. Where when I joined the college, I was very shy and sort of getting very introvert. And then came the point when I went to with this person who's sitting right here. I'm going to take his name later. Went to Delhi with taking part in. I think it was way back in 1980 or something like that. Way back and taking part in this competition. And we traveled to Delhi, and we were going from one college to another, living in the hostels, and taking part in all these competitions. And so we had St. Stephen's College and Hindu College and Jesus and Mary. And in fact, in one of the colleges, we also won the overall competition. I think it was in Hindu College. Overall competition we won, and I was in the tabla, and we had a guitar player, and then we had this leader of the band, as we say, Erol D'Souza, who's sitting right there, the IIM director, Erol D'Souza. Please give him a big hand. We were both in the same college, by the way, and he still looks older than me. He looked older then also. And Erol was one of the leaders who was leading us at that time, going from Bombay to Delhi. And in fact, Erol and I went and watched a movie also together in Delhi because we had some spare time. And then, so that's the time I was started my little fusion, confusion thing happening at that time. I was, we were sitting in one of these hostel. I think, was it St. Stephen's College or was it? And this guitar player who was there, part of the competition group, Shahrukh, his name was, a Parsi fellow, and he was singing all these Beatles songs, here comes the sun, and I was playing tabla with him, And then he was singing this Billy Joel song, don't go changing, you try to please me, all those songs, and I was playing tabla with him. And within about 15, 20 minutes, we had about 50 students sitting, like you guys are sitting. I had about 50 students sitting there and listening to our performance. And he was singing all the Beatles songs and all the Billy Joel songs and all those. And I was playing tabla with him. So this is like my first encounter to fusion music. And then so we were so fascinated by it that we decided to come to Bombay and create our own band. With Shahrukh on the guitar, and there was a violin player and me on the tabla, and we sort of performed in college, and we also performed other places. So, getting into fusion music at that time. So that was my kind of college encouraged me to go and, spread my wings, go for it, man, kind of thing. I was. In fact, there's a little incident that happened in Delhi when there was this girl who came and she wanted to have some tabla accompaniment, So she came and asked, I don't know whether he asked Erol or somebody, oh, I heard that you have this cat tabla player with you guys, So I actually got very insulted because I didn't know what cat meant. But at that time, cat meant, really one of those good ones, So she came and asked, I think it was Erol, that I heard that you have this cat tabla player with you guys, and I want him to accompany me for one of these competitions. So I said, no, I don't want to play. She's called me a cat, I'm not interested in performing with this girl. So, but then Erol explained to me, it means that you are a great tabla player, It means you are a good tabla player. So I said, really, is that what it's supposed to mean, cat? When you say cat, it was. So I said, okay, I will accompany you now that you've given me a compliment. So it was like, since I was there and performing, and so they were asking me to accompany these guys. I was already getting famous, performing all this. So college, you guys should remember that college gives you the independence and the infrastructure to go and spread your wings, And I'm sure this is what is happening in SEB. And it happened with me in St. Xavier's College, where used to be this group called the IMG, Indian Music Group, which was actually founded by my elder brother with some of the college students way back in 1974. So when I joined college in 79, I actually became part of that group. And I was going for all these competitions in IITs and other medical colleges, and I went to Delhi with Erol. And, performing all because of college. And, that boosted my confidence and really gave me the push to get into the music and get into performance. And then I was also performing at that time with Shivji and with Hariji. In fact, the first time I actually performed with my brother was way back in 1982 when I was still in college. My brother came, Zakir bhai came as a lecture. He had a lecture demonstration, and he told me just, why don't you come and play with me? He just in the middle of the, he said, do you have a tabla with you here? I said, no. He said, okay, I have a spare tabla with me. Why don't you play with me? Without giving me any warning, he just said, just come and play with me. So that was his first. And then came the part when I played with my father the first time. So I would like to show you a clip of a BBC recording way back in 1986 in BBC, where my first performance with my father and my brother. So all three of us are playing. It's maybe a 3 minutes or 2-3 minutes clip that if she's able to find it. So that's the first time I actually played with my father.
Also his sons Zakir and Faisal playing tabla together for the first time on British television.
Where is... Stop. Okay. This too can happen. Ah, there you are. Oh, is it? So this, with the British accent, the lady is announcing our names.
Also his sons Zakir and Faisal playing tabla together for the first time on British television.
That was my first performance with my father, and that happened to be in London instead of in India. And I felt very, very much like I was promoted because my father decided to play with me, or rather asked me to play with him. So for me, it was like promotion. This is Mr. Vishwamohan Bhatt I'm playing with. That was way back. I still had my mustache with me, so that must be in '86. So, and this is down there again, a BBC recording way back in 1984 or 5 or something, with a very famous sitar player who was Ravi Shankarji's student, Ustad Shamim Ahmed Khan Sahab. So we played in the BBC. They had a different background at that time, different background for us. So these are the earlier performances that I was playing with all these musicians who became, great musicians later on, also like Pandit Vishwamohan Bhatt, who was also my friend. We almost started a career together because there used to be in Bhopal a program called Durlabh Vadya Vinod, which means unusual instrument concert. So you had Vishwamohan Bhatt playing guitar there. So, and I was accompanying him, and I think this is from there, one of those performances. So this is how I started, and then I went into the fusion music with the great Gist. Can you have the Minta? Here I'm playing, just before that. So there is with Mr. Prince Charles at his house in London, which Sultan Khan Sahab, one of my favorite musicians I used to play with a lot. Down there is again playing with my father. I'm not playing, but I'm just sitting there. You can see my father and brother, and that's me again with the mustache, way back in '86, '84 actually. The three of us playing again We did a lot of concerts together, and then Zakir Bhai and I playing for the Osho, you can see that, in Pune. So, and each time I played with my father and with my brother, it was like almost learning experience for me. It's like performances on the stage, which was more like a learning thing, because I hardly got a chance to learn from my brother, actually. He was so busy performing that I never got a chance to actually sit in front of him and play, learn. But when I was playing on the stage with him and performing with him, and the thing about with my brother is that he never decided anything. You know, he would just go onto the stage, and even if I ask him, what are we going to do? He said, don't worry, we'll just go and play. And invariably, we just go on the stage and perform together without actually deciding what we want to do. So that was added incentive to try and do well. And in all this big things, performances and performances, I was always compared with my father, compared with my brother. And so I was feeling a little kind of, how do I say, you know, I was not not given, sometimes I felt that I played very well, but some people used to come and say, oh, you played well, but you know, not as good as Zakir Bhai or somebody or something like that. So I used to feel very not so good at that time. So, you know, I came with the trick, you know, which is very interesting if you like to know, because there used to be Zakir Hussain and there used to be Fazal Qureshi, you know. We don't share the same name, actually, for some reason. Actually, his name is Zakir Hussain Qureshi, and my actual name is Fazal Hussain Qureshi. But Qureshi is our surname, so I used to use my family name. And Zakir Bhai was not using the family name, and he was just using Hussain. So I decided that I'm going to tell the announcer just to announce my name. Because if they say just Fazal Qureshi performing on the tabla, that would mean that he could be anybody. I mean, there's no connection with... earlier, they used to say brother of Zakir Hussain and son of Ustad Rakha. So I stopped that. I said, please do not announce all that and just announce my name. So people were not making any connection between Fazal Qureshi and Zakir Hussain. So I used to perform, you know, without any sort of any comparison, you know, anything, and I used to do well. In fact, one incident that happened in a concert, I was playing with Shivji, and this announcer forgot to announce my name. He just announced Shivji's name, and he forgot to announce my name, and we started performing, and Shivji also didn't say anything. He kept quiet. He didn't sort of announce my name, and we played one rag for about 45 minutes or 50 minutes, and people enjoyed, and then he took the mic, and he said, you know, our announcer forgot to announce my accompanist's name, and I also did not do this because I wanted you to hear him for what he was, not for what he is with all his family connection. Everyone was very fascinated to know who I was. So then he said that he's son of Ustad Rakha and brother of Zakir Hussain. And that's when I got extra claps. So, I mean, but it just that I had to perform without this huge, you know, name behind me, you know. So I wanted to kind of get out of that mold, because it's very easy to just get lost in that because of the name being overpowering and your performance is getting overpowered by the name. So I somehow managed to get out of that and deal with this big, huge people's name behind me. So, you know, luckily I had a different name attached to my name than Zakir Bhai, so that helped a lot. So then comes this period where I joined hands with a Swedish band called Minta, where we this was also way back in 1987, and we continue. We are still sometime performing in Europe and in India. And these are the four Swedish guys and 2 Indian guys. That's the person standing next to me on my left is Nankishore Mule. He is a student of Shiv Kumar Sharma, and he was the first person that joined us with Minta. And then later on, Shankar Mahadevan joined also, where where Nandu sort of took a break and Shankar was there. So then this is a period where Shankar on the right, where Shankar also joined. So this was like a kind of almost 30 years experience with fusion, you know, that really opened up my mind and created sort of something that to develop me as a musician, as well as open my mind to the other styles of music and give me an insight into what how I can incorporate. So I just, at that time when I was performing with these people and learning the other style, and I just realized that why my brother went to America at the age of 19. Because he wanted to also learn about other style and incorporate that style or incorporate the percussion, the music into his playing. And I actually realized that many years later when I was playing with Minta, that it was so important to expand your horizon. It was so important to learn what you can assimilate. You know, even though I have learned classical music, but I needed to assimilate other styles into my playing in order to make me grow as a musician, make me grow as a tabla player, and sort of make me a better musician. You know, so you have, whatever you're learning here, you need to sort of go out of your boundaries and learn something to expand your horizon, you know, and make you a better architect or a better interior designer or whatever else that you're doing. Because it needs, you need to take risk, you need to go out of. My brother did when he was just 19. And I didn't do that, but I joined this group, and it just made me realize that, you know, it was so important to be able to learn the other style, to become a better musician, to take some risks, to go out and expand your horizon and become a performer. So let's go to the last photo of there. This is what we are now. That's Zakir Bhai in the middle, and that's me on his left. This is just taken this year for my father's death anniversary concert in February in Shanmukanand Hall. So I just wanted to say that this is the kind of photo that tells you what we have become now. You know, we have sort of, you know, Zakir Bhai already had an identity of himself, and somehow I managed to create an identity for myself, and so did my younger brother. So, and we are what we are. So this is like a finale. This is what it is. This is what we are, and this is what we have become. So where we started, and there is a difference between, the age difference between Zakir Bhai and me is about 10 years. So before I even opened my eyes and before I even realized that I want to do, he was already a star, because by the time I was 5, he was 15, and by the time I became 9, he was 19, and he was already abroad, and you know, so people, I think people also realize that there's no need to compare this, because he was a child prodigy and I was just coming into, but because my younger brother actually didn't have to experience this comparison, because he's not playing tabla, he's actually playing other percussion. So, which is something that is kind of worked in his favor. But with tabla being played by me and then sort of being in the same family, the comparison obviously happens a little more with me than with my younger brother. So, but the journey has been very interesting, and it's already been like 38 years into music now, right from the time in 1980 when I started playing my first performance in college. I had a very good review. You know, in those days, the review used to happen, you know, in the papers when you used to perform. And now, 2018, so that's 38 years. And I think I have achieved what I wanted to and be where I wanted to and create something for myself. And Zakir bhai is also very happy with me, and because he allowed me to continue teaching in my institute. My father started his institute in '85, and after my father's death, everybody thought that there was nobody better to take care of the institute than me. So Zakir bhai thought that it would be a good idea that I take care of the institute and teach the student. And so now the next generation of students which are coming out of our institute is actually under my training. And that's in the institute in Bombay, in Shivaji Park, where my father so I'm taking the class where my father started teaching and taking the class there. So that is kind of a culmination of all this. I hope you enjoyed. I didn't know what to do, so I just decided to just put a bunch of photographs together and a bunch of videos together and see what comes out of it. But I also have a great many musicians with me who are going to perform right now, so don't go. It's not the end of it, by the way. I have this great musician who's a good friend of mine, and he has been playing like a really head-banging rock musician, of the 80s, called the Hammersmith. Probably most people of that time probably know about this group called Hammersmith. And please welcome Mark Hayden. Where is he? Has he gone back home? Or he decided that it was too long and it was near his bedtime, I think, because his head-banging days are over now. So, but anyway, I would we also have another musician playing this keyboard here. My son, where is he? Has he also gone back? Oh, there he is. So my son is still here, but Mark is not there. Where is Mark? He's going to play, the three of us are going to play. Mark. Yeah, so before we actually play, sit. He does what I tell him to do. Mark doesn't. Before we go into the playing part, if there's any question you guys are interested in asking, I don't have to answer, but I would still like to know if you have any question to answer, for me to answer, or some question you would like to ask me. If you like any of my photographs or any of my brother's photographs. By the way, all the girls in my college when I was there in St. Xavier's, they were all very fascinated to become my friend, not because I was, Fazal Qureshi, because I was Zakir Hussain's brother, but at the same time, some of them, oh, there he is, Mark Hayden. Where were you, Mark? Honolulu, okay. He was practicing, actually. So, they were, so all my girls, all the girls in my college, my friends in my class, they used to come and tell me, we love your brother, we are big fans of yours, but we are a bigger fan of your father, because we want to pull his cheeks. Is it possible for us to come to your house and pull my father's cheeks, your father's cheeks? Because they used to find him so, roly-poly and, so cute. So they all wanted to pull my father's cheeks. So, so that was one of those things I remembered from the college days when they, But you can ask me anything you want. Any question about Erol D'Souza, any private thing you want to know about him, I can tell you. Or about... Erol and I, have kept in touch. Most of our friends who went to Delhi have kind of, I don't know where Shah Rukh is, but I once met one of the violin player who used to play with me. His name was Cyrus, and I met him in New York. I was performing there with my brother, and there he was standing outside. And he said, "Oh, Fazal, do you remember? We used to play together." And for a minute, I was just thinking, who is this guy? He's saying that I used to play. Because he had lost his hair. He was just one of those bald fellow who was standing right there across me. And then suddenly it clicked that, oh, this is Cyrus. So most of these, but Erol and I has kept in touch because Erol, I used to see him in Goa when he was teaching there actually. By the way, he was teaching in Goa also, in case you guys want to know. And he used to come for my performances when I used to go there. And then later on I realized that he has come to Ahmedabad and he was teaching here, and we've had some great dinners together at his house there. In fact, our children literally grew up together, his daughter and my son. There's not much age difference between them. And so it's nice to keep in touch with people, from college, who remind you of what you were and, what you've experienced and where you went from there to there. You still have time, Mark. I mean, you can practice more if you want. And Mark and I have really recorded a few things together. And when I told Mark that, that you have to play with me today, he was a little nervous because, he was like as I said, he was a headbanger in that Hammersmith. But then he went into the corporate world and he sort of decided that he had to earn a living and all that stuff. And then he got fed up with that. And just very recently, he gave up all that. He just decided that he wanted to resign and he wanted to become a musician back again. So welcome back, Mark. Welcome back. They want to give my son some flowers. Do you want some flowers? No, take. There's a very good-looking girl giving you flowers. Take. Stand and take. What is this? He sat and took. Some flowers for Mark also? Later, maybe? Only if he plays well? Oh, Mark Hayden, please. So, any questions? I'm giving you, this is the last warning. After this, I play. But I can actually sit there and answer your question also if you want. So, we're going to play a few pieces together, but maybe in between I'll invite Shishir Bhatt to come, and maybe I'll play a little solo also. But there is a little 3 pieces that we have decided on to perform for you, in which my son will play, and Mark Hayden has composed all 3 of them. All 3 of them. And we will follow his lead. And do you want to say something? Anything? Something good about me? Maybe. Okay, he's going to say something. So I'm going to go take my place, and we will start playing for you. Thank you.
Fazal, you're very talented, kind, and very brave. We are doing this without rehearsal, so you're a brave man, Fazal.
And he forgot to say that he's also brave because he's also playing without rehearsal. There's somebody who lifted her hand. By the way, there's a question. Wow. Okay. Oh, Birwa Qureshi connection. Okay. Maybe she can say this herself. My wife is from Ahmedabad, by the way, in case you guys want to know. She's from Ahmedabad, and I met her. She was part of the Darpana Institute. She was a performer there. And I met her. She was one of the people. Minta was performing there, actually, way back in ages ago. And she was one of our welcoming party member, and that's how I met her, at Darpana Institute. So she's from Ahmedabad, and she's a dancer herself. She's there. Birwa Qureshi for you. Give her a big hand. Anything connected with my music by any chance? Any question? Anyway, I'm going to take a seat, so if you want to ask me, I'll be there answering.
Okay. So this piece is called the Fun Song, which is composed by Mark. And Azan, Mark, and me will play this piece for you. Fun Song. Can I tune? Is it D? Give me a D. D. Give me a D. Okay. Can we have the keyboard? Bring him up a little bit more outside. Play. Okay. I don't need him here, but we can put him there in that one. Okay. So. Fun song. Okay. It's starting with me? Yes. Okay. So that was not decided. So you want to play a little alap or something? Yeah. Give him a call. So that was Mark's piece called Fun Song.
Fun song. Fazal's fun song.
Fazal's Fun Song. Okay. The next one is it's a little blues that Mark think that we should play together, and I told him that he has his nice loops, so he wanted to play with the loops, but I said no way, because I don't want the loops to take the credit, because sometimes the loops are so good they take the credit, they have the good. So no, we have the blues where we're going to not play the loop, but we'll just have tabla giving the blues. So the blues piece. Mark. So the last is one of the, we just couldn't get out of the loop. So we're going to use that, and it's got some sort of a funky piece to it, with Mark was very keen that we play. And you want to say something about, no, you don't want, okay. He prefers playing than talking, right? So this is a little funk kind of, still with a little bit of a bass line, and with Azan playing a little solo in this, and let's see what happens. Mark. So that was just a little thingy that we did. But if you want to hear more, I mean, we can play more, or we can just stop here, whatever. Nobody's hungry? Continue this here. Mark, he doesn't have any more songs to play. But we can continue playing, but we have this other piece that you want to try.
Oh, there are a lot of pieces here.
No, but this Joe. There's a person called Joe Satriani. Many people may have heard about him, and there was this one little piece that we had decided to do, but then we kind of didn't do. You don't want to do? Come on. But maybe I can play a little solo before that, and then we can.
Okay.
But are you gonna?
I'm all set.
Okay, maybe in it. Maybe I can play a solo in it. Okay. No, the guitar. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming in such large numbers. We're very happy. Thank you, Shishir Bhattji. We couldn't do more, but whatever we did was good. And I enjoyed talking. I hope you enjoyed listening. I didn't hear too many claps, but I was happy. A big hand for Azan. And of course, Mark. Thank you very much.
So on your behalf, and on behalf of Sept University and the Faculty of Design, may I thank Ustad Fazal Qureshi for his wonderful, generous sharing of a life and of what it takes to become what he is now. And what's so special about that narrative is that it's not an ending, it's a work in progress. So it's a journey that he's on, and there's an expectation of much, much more to come. His embrace of the new, of the different, and of the road ahead is an inspiration to all of us. So thank you very much on all our behalf, to you and to Mark and to Azan. Thank you very much indeed. And may we just give a small token of our affection.
Last chance, any questions? What? How many hours a day I practice?
Anuben?
Is that a question? No, but it's you know, I cannot really say. I asked the same question to my brother also. And he has no answer for it, because it all depends on your ability and how much you can spare. But it's the quality of practice that is important, not the quantity. So the quality is like studying for about the whole day and then studying for like 3 hours. But that quality of studying for 3 hours compensates for the whole day of, you know, studying. So it's less like that. How many hours should you study to get a first class? You cannot say that actually. So similarly, it's a quality basically, not the quantity. I hope I answered.
And can we make a small token to Azan as well?
Azan also? Okay. Huh? A small token to Azan.
Okay. Can we have Erol, please? Erol?
Erol, where are you? Oh, there he is. Huh. Come on, Erol. A big hand for Erol. It's a long way.
You get it.
There he is, Erol D'Souza. Hello, Uncle Azan. He was so small when he saw you. Thanks, Erol.
And maybe also
and Mark,
to Mark,
a
maybe
small one. Stop
from
packing.
Please, from. And I'd like to also present our token to Shihiro as well.
Shishir Bhattji. Small, it was supposed to be a little longer one, but then, you know, we got so involved in talking that I forgot about the time. You know, that's what happens with me. But Shishir ji, thank you. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका यहाँ आए आप. And he was not well today, and he told me that he's not going to come, but I forced him to come. But thank you, Shishir ji. Thank you.
So thank you again for all coming. And just one moment, please.
Erol likes to say something.
Yeah, I've got to let out some secrets about you. So someone asked a question that, how long does he practice? Let me just give you a small incident. The journey that he was mentioning that we took to Delhi as a team, we traveled second class by train from Mumbai to Delhi. And it was a cold, wintry night. I remember we hardly slept. But at 7 in the morning in the train, in a moving train, we suddenly heard the Ustad practicing. Okay? So that is dedication. So the fluency that you see today is just years of hard work and dedication, and that's what it takes. Thank you.
actually was inspired by the moving train. It has a certain rhythm, a certain beat to it. Luckily, nobody danced except I only played. But I remember the return journey, because the return journey was that suddenly the college said that you please come back few days earlier than what we had planned. So the return journey was in a unreserved compartment from Delhi to Bombay. I don't know which train it was. And we kind of took a train from, we decided that this train is going, and we all ran into the unreserved compartment, you remembered. And just caught our place. Somebody was up there, I was up there, and Erol was somewhere else, and we all sort of got our own seat. And I remember sitting up there, and for 24 hours, I didn't even move from there. I was just sitting up on that upper berth, because if I moved, somebody else would come and sit there. So I remembered that journey from Delhi to Bombay. So till Kalyan or somewhere we were sitting, and then afterwards the train got a little empty, and we were able to use the bathroom after that. So imagine sitting up there for the n number of times. But anyway, Erol, seeing you brought a lot of old memories back, of Xavier's and of our travel to Delhi and all that. But thank you for coming, Erol. Thanks. So now please go home. Shishir Bhattji, small, it was supposed to be a little longer one, but then, we got so involved in talking that I forgot about the time. That's what happens with me. But Shishir ji, thank you. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका यहाँ आए आप. And he was not well today, and he told me that he's not going to come, but I forced him to come. But thank you, Shishir ji. Thank you.
So thank you again for all coming. And just one moment, please.
Erol likes to say something.
Yeah, I've got to let out some secrets about you. So someone asked a question that, how long does he practice? Let me just give you a small incident. The journey that he was mentioning that we took to Delhi as a team, we traveled second class by train from Mumbai to Delhi. And it was a cold, wintry night. I remember we hardly slept. But at 7 in the morning in the train, in a moving train, we suddenly heard the Ustad practicing. Okay? So that is dedication. So the fluency that you see today is just years of hard work and dedication, and that's what it takes. Thank you.
I actually was inspired by the moving train. It has a certain rhythm, a certain beat to it. Luckily, nobody danced except I only played. But I remember the return journey, because the return journey was that suddenly the college said that you please come back few days earlier than what we had planned. So the return journey was in a unreserved compartment from Delhi to Bombay. I don't know which train it was. And we kind of took a train from, we decided that this train is going, and we all ran into the unreserved compartment, you remembered. And just caught our place. Somebody was up there, I was up there, and Erol was somewhere else, and we all sort of got our own seat. And I remember sitting up there, and for 24 hours, I didn't even move from there. I was just sitting up on that upper berth, because if I moved, somebody else would come and sit there. So I remembered that journey from Delhi to Bombay. So till Kalyan or somewhere we were sitting, and then afterwards the train got a little empty, and we were able to use the bathroom after that. So imagine sitting up there for the n number of times. But anyway, Erol, seeing you brought a lot of old memories back, of Xavier's and of our travel to Delhi and all that. But thank you for coming, Erol. Thanks. So now please go home.